have any questions, please just let me know. But I'll give you a little bit of information about myself and about Fidelco and about the amazing things that these dogs do. I've been working with Fidelco. I've been an employee there. I'm the Chief Operating Officer, and I've been there for 4 years now. Prior to working at Fidelco, I was on their board of directors, and I also raised puppies as a volunteer for Fidelco. So this is Igor. Igor is 15. He wants to say hello too. He's 15 months old, so he is a dog in our puppy program. He is still in the puppy program, and he is the 6th puppy that I've raised for Fidelco. So just to give you a little information about Fidelco, we breed all of our dogs right here, close by in Bloomfield, Connecticut. And once the puppies are 8 weeks old, they go to puppy raiser homes. And the puppy raisers help us to socialize and do all the basic training of the dogs. And they're in their homes for about 1.5 years. So it is a difficult thing to do, and everybody always asks me, how do you give them up after having them for 1.5 years? But once you see these dogs at 1.5 years, you understand that they are so much more than a pet. And you begin to see that these dogs can give somebody that's blind back their freedom and independence. And that is what they are meant to do, and that's what they're bred for. And I know we have Veterans Day right around the corner, and that's the topic of your meeting today. So I'll talk a little bit about some of the veterans that Fidelco serves. To start, I'll start with our latest conflict that we have going on in the world, and I'll kind of move back from there to talk about some of the different veterans. We have a veteran, his name is Lieutenant Brad Snyder. He's retired from the Navy, and he was injured in the current conflict. He was a swimmer in the Navy, and he was the captain of the Navy swim team. When he got injured, right away he started to think, how am I going to get back my independence? How am I going to get to the pool? How am I going to swim, get to my family, do all those things? Because everything changes. All of a sudden, when your world goes dark, the easiest things for you today are most difficult. Imagine if you closed your eyes right now and you had to get back to your car. How long would it take you to get there versus when you have your eyes open? It would probably take you twice as long. And one of the things, after Brad got his dog, one of the things that he told us that I thought was truly amazing was, with his white cane, once he had all his mobility training and he got back into the pool, which is the only place he felt comfortable, with his white cane, it would take him 45 minutes to get from his house to the pool. Fidelco partnered him with guide dog Gizzy. Once he got Gizzy, it took him 20 minutes. It took him less than half the amount of time. Imagine if all of a sudden it took you less than half the amount of time to do some of the things in your daily life. You'd have more time for your loved ones, more time for friends, and things of that nature. So that gave Brad back so much. And just to talk about a little bit of what it does for our clients, Brad is an Olympic gold medalist. He won the gold medal in the Paralympics, and he is training again for the next Paralympics. You want to tell all about this, don't you? And it's not just the current conflict for veterans that we serve. It goes all the way back. We have veterans that were wounded in Vietnam. We have veterans that were in other wars that just lost their eyesight due to old age or not the natural aging process. So we serve veterans from all different age groups in all different wars. And in addition to that, Fidelco's veteran program also takes care of the families of veterans, which I thought might be something that would interest you guys. Our veterans program and all of our partners that donate specifically to the veterans of Fidelco, if you are an immediate family member of a veteran and you are blinded, it also includes you. Because being blind doesn't just affect you. It affects your family, your friends, and your community. So that is why Fidelco expanded the program to include the immediate family members of any veteran in our veterans program. So just some facts about Fidelco to give you guys some idea of what it takes to get these guys into the hands of somebody that is blind and to get their freedom and independence back. Guide dogs are placed right around their 2nd birthday. So it takes about 2 years of training to get these guys ready for actually being placed with a blind person. The first 1.5 years is with a puppy raiser, and then all of the puppies come back to Fidelco, and one of our professional trainers at Fidelco does the next 6 months of training with them. This is the guide dog work. This is teaching the dog to stop at curbs, to make sure that every place that they go is safe. And just to give you an example, we teach our dogs intelligent disobedience. So if you're getting ready to cross the street with one of our guide dogs, and you give them the sign and you say forward, and there's a car coming that hasn't come to a complete stop yet, the dog will ignore you until the car comes to a complete stop, because it's not safe for you to step out. And that's where our clients have to trust the dog. Because you may be thinking it's perfectly safe for you to cross the street because you don't hear that car coming or you don't see something that's in your way, but the dog will stop you. And those are the things that our trainers train in the last 6 months. The other thing that sets Fidelco apart from a lot of the other guide dog schools in the United States is we pioneered in-community placement. Every single one of our Fidelco dogs are placed in the person's hometown. So it doesn't matter if you live in California or Connecticut or anywhere in Canada. Our trainers take the dogs, we come to your hometown, and we work in your environment to place the dog with you. And that's about 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how much time you need. Other schools have a dormitory style setting. So if you were to get a dog, you would have to leave your family, your work, your friends, and everything for up to a month to go have training done with your guide dog. The other thing that Fidelco does is we go back to visit every single client team every single year. We want to make sure that at no time did the client team become unsafe. So we make sure that all the training is still current, that the client's not having any issues with their dogs, and we go back every year to follow up. Now, I bet you're saying, okay, so how much does all this cost? Because we are a nonprofit. It takes approximately, I know you're an expensive dog, huh? It takes approximately $45,000 to breed, raise, train, and do the follow-up for each one of these dogs. And that includes about 10 years worth of service for the client. And that is why Fidelco specializes in the German Shepherd dog. It is a true working breed, and our dogs work with our clients on average for 10 years. Whereas some of the other breeds, which are sporting breeds, are very good guide dogs, but they typically have a working life of closer to 6 to 8 years on average. So going back to Lieutenant Brad Snyder, he's in his 30s. So he's going to have a guide dog in his 30s, his 40s, his 50s, his 60s, and his 70s. If he was with another breed, he may have to have 3 to 4 more guide dogs. And as I was talking about that trust and that bond, you could just imagine that it's a lot easier for our clients to transition every 10 years versus every 6 years. All of our clients receive the dogs for free. So that's one thing that a lot of people don't realize, is that our clients do not pay for the dogs. And it is all due to the generosity of the companies and individuals that donate to Fidelco. Do you guys have any questions thus far?
How do you become a puppy trainer or a puppy owner?
Puppy raisers could go to our website and fill out an application, and what we do is we come to your home to take a visit, and then we have you come for 3 classes before you get your puppy and an orientation. And that gives you a good idea of what it takes to become a puppy raiser. We have you come to classes on Saturdays, As the dogs get older, it's not necessarily every Saturday, and that's where we teach you how to do the basic obedience and socialization, because it's very important that these dogs get out into as many different situations as possible. And then we help you through the whole process. Puppy, he's a talker, by the way, if you haven't been able to tell. Puppy raisers do supply the food and the toys for the dog, and Fidelco supplies all the veterinarian care. And then if you need to go on vacation or you go anywhere, we house the dog for you, so you don't have to worry about that. So if you're interested in doing it, visit our website. It is very rewarding. Everybody asks, like I said earlier, how I give them up. It's heartbreaking every time, but we have this great trade-in program. You bring your puppy back in a year and a half, and you get a puppy. So it's a wonderful trade-in program, better than any car dealership you'll ever find.
What's your drop-off rate? Do you have a drop-off rate, like for puppies that fail or whatever?
We like to talk about the success rate. We have about a 65% success rate for our dogs that make it to guide dogs. Now, for those dogs that don't make it to guide dogs, we do test them for other careers. Okay, so we call them career changes. And for the past 50 years, and Fidelco does still do this, we donate to the Connecticut State Police. Okay, so we have a lot of dogs out there with Connecticut State Troopers, and we are still donating to Connecticut State Police. We also provide dogs to other police departments, search and rescue organizations, bomb detection agencies, child recovery, missing children recovery agencies, and things of that nature. We've even had requests from the Alaskan Avalanche group, Alaskan Avalanche Recovery Group, for some of our shepherds. So we are definitely known across the country. So we try to help out our citizens because they help Fidelco.
Fidelco is strictly shepherds, right?
Yes, we are 100% German Shepherds, and we own all of our breed dogs. And that's the other thing too, is we have breed dog caregivers. So all of our breed dogs live in homes with families, and the girls come to Fidelco when it's time for them to have their puppies, and they have their puppies at Fidelco. And the boys come to Fidelco when it's time to work. Yes, absolutely.
If someone already owns a dog, are they allowed to raise a puppy, or is it just a single German Shepherd puppy in a home?
No, you absolutely can have other pets, and that is actually very good for the dogs. You could have cats, hamsters, we've seen it all. Other dogs, that's not a problem. I actually have a pet of my own, and they get along very well. And it's really good because our clients live lives just like you do. We might be placing one of our guide dogs in a house that already has a dog. They might have a cat, they can have children, and that's why we try to expose the puppies to as many different situations as possible in that first year and a half of life. And it's really interesting when you're a puppy raiser because you start with places like the post office. And are all of you from Windsor? Close by? So you've probably seen us in the Windsor post office before. You have probably seen our little tiny puppies on the town green here because we do use Windsor as one of our training areas. And then they graduate to places like the library where we are, here because it's a nice quiet area. All of that is very good before the supermarket. And the supermarket is much better, first thing on a Monday morning to start off with than it is Sunday afternoon. But they have to be exposed to all different kinds of things because they're going to see that. And as I said, they're placed across North America. So they can come into a lot of different situations. We have clients that work in all different types of jobs, all different types of situations, and it's just very important for them to have as much exposure as possible.
How many dogs do you typically place a year?
Usually we're right around 50 dogs a year, and that's where we like to be. It really depends on Mother Nature, which sometimes she can be a little finicky, especially if we have a hard winter. So, but we're right around 50 dogs a year. And throughout North America, we have over 220 clients. And those are all the people that we visit every single year, no matter where they live. And we also have a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week follow-up for our clients. So if any client has an emergency, they are able to call us and we assist them in any way that's needed, either in person or via telephone. So we help them out like that.
So this dog hasn't had any guide dog training as yet? He's
No.
just enjoying life right now?
He's just enjoying life, trying to learn his manners,
Okay.
trying to be comfortable in all different situations with all different types of people.
My son-in-law in New Hampshire, his son-in-law was a cop in King, New Hampshire, and he had a drug sniffing dog.
Oh.
And the dog was absolute part of the family,
Mm-hmm.
but the minute he put that special collar on Heiko, that indicated he was going to work.
And
The
that's
dog's personality completely changed.
And that's very similar for our dogs. Once they have their harness on, they know they're working. And that's something, whereas if you ever see a dog in harness and you ask the person, can I pet your dog, and they say no, don't be insulted, because that dog is working. And if you distract them, it could actually risk the safety of the team. And I have to say, I've had the honor of being reunited with some of the puppies that I've raised that are now guide dogs. And it's amazing to watch, because when they see me, they get happy, but if they're in their harness, they're still working. You take the harness off, and they are instantly a puppy all over again, and they very much are allowed to be a dog. And then if the client says, okay, it's time to go back to work, I disappear into thin air, and that dog goes back to work and performs its job. Yes, that will be you someday.
Now, is Fidelco only in Bloomfield, or do you have places all over the country?
Nope, we are located in, that's our world headquarters, is in Bloomfield, Connecticut. And just to give you an idea, we do all of this with just under 50 employees. And the help of over 300 volunteers. And that's something we would not be able to do what we do without the help of our volunteers. So if anybody is ever interested in volunteering at Fidelco, please visit our website, because we have all different types of volunteering opportunities, from being a puppy raiser all the way down to stuffing envelopes for us for events. So it's very important that we have that assistance. And he wants to crawl right into my lap, if you can't tell. I think he's left half his coat in my lap already.
Does he shake hands? Is that what he wants?
No, he doesn't shake hands. He wants his belly rubbed is what he wants. He loves having his belly rubbed. That's his favorite thing, besides a Kong.
Yeah.
Or always go out with his little cape.
When we are working, because technically right now, as a puppy, right now is how he's working. So when we put the jacket on him, that's when he's working. So some of our puppies, if you ever see the dogs out with the red jackets on, some of them you can pet, and then other ones you can't. And it sometimes depends on the situation. For example, if I was at the grocery store and he was behaving and doing a good job and following what he was supposed to be doing, I would allow somebody to say a quick hello. If he was having a hard time getting settled in the beginning, I would probably say, you know what, he's working right now, he's a little distracted, so we have to let him continue to work. Try this one more time.
Do you usually find cooperation with, businesses or wherever you're trying to socialize the dogs?
Yes, we're very fortunate that Fidelco is in Connecticut, because a lot of people know about us. And 99% of the time, we get nice cooperation from business owners. We instruct our puppy raisers to always make sure they ask ahead of time. And if somebody says no, just explain to them the American Disabilities Act and how the dogs are allowed into places, but not to push it, because you are with a puppy. So as you can imagine, if we were sitting in the library just then when he starts to vocalize a little bit, it's my job to kind of get up and go out of the library as to not disturb other people. And that's the thing. We want our dogs to represent Fidelco in the best way possible everywhere. And that does take a little bit of reading your dog. I have been in the mall once, and I almost had a dog have a little bit of an accident in the mall, but I could tell that they were starting to get antsy, so we left. And that's, as a puppy raiser, you always have to be prepared to get up and go if your dog needs to exit the building. So.
Will you take him on a bus like he is now, or is that only when he's in a harness you take him on buses? Like the Connecticut company buses?
Typically, that's our trainers.
Yeah,
Because,
right.
so that would be in a harness, and that would be our trainers' jobs. There's very specific things that we want to make sure our trainers are the first ones to expose the dogs to. Another thing like that is escalators, because it's very difficult. It could be very difficult for a dog to step on an escalator. So those are things that our trainers train the dogs to do, and we tell our puppy raisers to please not do that. But he has been on elevators.
He has.
Yep, he's been on the elevators in places like the West Farms Mall too, where there's glass, so that's always different.
So I can see out, right?
Exactly, and those type of experiences are very good for him. So for our formal guide dog work, our trainers, the dogs are in the program for approximately 6 months, and every single dog before they graduate, they have to go through 4 blindfold walks with our trainers. So our trainers have to put their lives in the dog's paws 4 times before the dog will graduate. The last of which is approximately an hour long. So they have to feel comfortable, and they have to have the confidence of each dog to guarantee that this dog is going to be safe with a client. And then you asked a little bit about the matching process. And each and every client is matched individual with each and every dog. Because, as you might imagine, every person is different. Every dog has a little bit of a different personality. So Fidelco is kind of like a Match.com. What we do is we go out to visit every client for an interview, and we test their speed of walking, their situation, whether they live in the city or the country, if they have children, if they have other animals in their home, and then we analyze each and every dog that we have, and we say, where is this dog the strongest and the best? Because a dog that's absolutely fantastic in the city is probably going to be a little bored in the country. And we have dogs that excel in the country, and they just really have no interest in charging through the city. And then, of course, sometimes we have clients that have preferences, because something that people sometimes forget is to be legally blind does not mean that your world is always completely black. You might just have tunnel vision. You might just see peripherally. So some of our clients see during the day, but have a very difficult time at night. So some of those people actually request certain dogs. We have people that request an all-black female. So we kind of got to wait a little bit for Mother Nature, and we have to then make sure that that dog is good for their situation. So that's how we do the whole matching process, and that's the training that goes into each and every dog. And it really does take, we talk about how it takes a village to raise our dogs, just like it takes a village to raise children sometimes. All of our trainers work together in that matching process because they all have seen different parts of the dog. It may have been that a trainer had the dog for a week. It may have been that they worked with them in the kennel. It may have been that they had them in their string. One of our other trainers might have worked with the client before. So it's a group decision when we decide which dog gets placed with which person.
So the dog doesn't always work with the same trainer?
Not always.
No.
It really depends. That's where it depends on the dog. We have had dogs that have been placed with, assigned to a trainer, and they've been absolutely fantastic. As you all know, people take vacations. People get sick. So just because a trainer is on vacation, that doesn't mean that the dog doesn't continue to be worked.
You can't be on vacation.
So one of the other trainers takes the dog. And that's the thing, when you see our Fidelco vans out and about around town, Typically, there's, each trainer has a string of about 4 to 6 dogs at any given time. So they take all their dogs in the morning and they load them up in their vans and they go out and work them.
And park on Spring Street.
And park on Spring Street.
I've seen on that Ruby Tuesdays a van full of dogs.
Yes,
And no person.
yes.
But the person is somewhere in that parking lot, probably walking around the building or something.
Exactly, and every dog is at a different stage. So for example, when Igor first goes into training, he needs quiet neighborhoods to start off. Because the only thing he's learning is walking in a straight line. That's what he learns in the beginning. And then there might be another dog in the van that's 3 months ahead of him and already getting ready to do the streets of Hartford, to do traffic work and things of that nature. And then there might be another dog in the van that's almost ready to go and they need to go to New York or Boston to do the subway or the T's. All of our dogs are trained in all of those situations.
The dogs in my neighborhood are evidently trained to go to the end of the sidewalk, stop, sit, and then whatever she says, he said. Then they go across Spring Street, sit on the other side, stop, sit, then they go across and sit on the other side.
And that's the beginning.
They're doing curb, you know.
That's exactly what they're doing. They're doing curb work.
At times, a quiet neighborhood, at times.
Yep, and that's how we have to start the curb work because the dog has to learn exactly where to stop. When our dogs stop at the curb,
Curb,
their front paws are right on the edge of that curb. So you as the person are holding the harness and you are right at the dog's back legs. So that gives you exactly 1 step to feel the curb. You step up to the dog's front legs and then you tell the dog to continue. That's you telling the dog, I know why you stopped, because we're at a curb. And then they cross the road, and on the other side of the road they do the same thing. Because they are telling you, this is where the sidewalk begins again.
So you have to step up.
I've seen them being trained on garbage day when the garbage throw those cans all over the place and they have to maneuver around them.
Our trainers actually know almost all the neighborhoods in Bloomfield and Windsor and who has garbage day on which day. Because that's the beginning of obstacle work. These dogs are trained to bring you around obstacles. And they're trained to believe that they are 6 feet tall and 3 feet wide. Because when you're standing with them, the two of you together could be up to 6 feet tall if you're a tall person, and you're approximately 3 feet wide. So that dog is looking for that size opening to go through. And if that opening is not available, they'll try to find it. And if they can't find it, they'll stop, and then you're responsible for helping to figure out what's in your way. And garbage day is wonderful because they do. They leave the garbage cans in the middle of the sidewalk. And the nice thing about German Shepherds is they look ahead. So if you were blindfolded and walking with one of our dogs, you would feel like you were going in a perfectly straight line. When in actuality, the dog sees the garbage can coming up, so they start to steer you a little bit around it and back and around, but you feel like you're just moving in a straight line. They don't walk up to the garbage can, stop, and make sharp turns around it. Yes, we do, and that's what we call country travel. Yep, when I say country travel, it doesn't necessarily mean in the woods. It just means roads without sidewalks.
Something like that, right, so he knows that he's on, down. Now, in a case like that, is he always on the inside or the outside of the person?
The dog, we train all our dogs on the left side.
So
So,
the dog is on.
always on the left
Always
side.
on your left, all right.
Yep.
Always on your left, all
Right. And their job is to make sure that you are staying in a straight line. The other thing that we train them is to walk down the center of the sidewalk, because that puts the person at the correct place in the sidewalk. So those are some things that we train them to do. Any other questions?
Well, German Shepherds are, the breed is very protective, as are some other breeds. Now, if a dog, the protectiveness that Igor is demonstrating, that, how do you channel that? Do you do that, or does the trainer, or is it,
That sometimes comes with each individual dog and their personality. He's actually not protecting right now, he's alerting. So he's kind of saying, oh, there's somebody out there, make sure you know that. Okay? We don't train our dogs to be protective at all. Any dog naturally can have that instinct. We don't train that in our dogs. We do have some dogs that go to the state police and things of that nature, which are then trained by the state police to do their job of apprehension or anything like that. So we don't train any protection work with our dogs. It's interesting though, we have had dogs that, we had a client that wasn't aware that she had a seizure disorder, and her dog sensed it. We never trained the dog to do that, it was just something naturally that the dog sensed. So they are amazing animals, amazing creatures.
Do they do doorbells?
Do they what?
Like when the doorbell rings, do they like alert you to the doorbell even though you're not deaf? I mean, do they kind of say, hey, you gotta go get that, take me, let's go?
That's kind of all individual work with each individual dog. We also teach our dogs things, they learn how to fetch certain things. They know how to find doors, they know how to find elevators, they know how to find purses, things like that. And that's individual work with each client, you know, depending on who you are and what your needs are. You looking at everybody?
What percentage of the dogs that graduate from the training program are female versus male? Is there sort of a trend, or is it just?
It's very mixed. It really depends on Mother Nature, because sometimes we have more females than males, but both make excellent guide dogs, both make excellent police dogs. It's the breed more than anything. And that's where you get into individual personalities. You know, we can have a litter of 5 dogs, and we can have 3 guide dogs, 1 pet, and 1 police dog. We can have, it really depends. Kind of like if you have brothers and sisters, you might have one that's a doctor and one that's an artist. It's just 2 totally different personalities. Well, I appreciate you guys inviting me out here and having me come to visit. You are all welcome to say hello to Igor, and I really appreciate you having me out here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody wants to make a donation? I'm taking them.
That would be absolutely wonderful. Thank you.